Yo, 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 yo. What up, comiXsense community, crew, crowd, core family? We're back again Friday night. Just got paid. We are back again with another episode of CSP, that is Comic Sensory Perception. I am Issue X, and we got the whole panel in the house tonight. We're going to start off with well, before we even do that, first of all, let me put my electronic device on silent because it's going to be beeping all show. And before we do that, let us keep these lights on by liking and following comiXsense on Facebook and joining our Facebook group. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, follow us at comiXsense on Instagram, and find us on the Twitter. That is what it is. We're going to be talking shop. I'm about to bring the crew in one at a time, let them say their piece. Then we're going to get into it. We got Kaiser Trobze in the house. Kaiser Trobze, shout out to the people.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Good to be here. Good to see you.
And we have Ian Michaels in the house. Ian Michaels, shout out to the people.
What's going on, people? Thank you as always for being here.
We got Rich Doesn't Read in the house. Rich Doesn't Read, shout out to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good week.
And shout out to everyone in the room. Sean Mallory, Peter Maresca, Samuel Murdoch. Shout out to y'all. Sam Murdoch's like, what's the occasion? We do this every Friday night, Sam. Every Friday night. CSP, Comic Sensory Perception, on YouTube, on Facebook. Glad to have you. Check us out. So what up? This was a fire week in comics, y'all.
Yes.
We were all there for it. Well, one of us wasn't. One of us was on vacation. Oh, Trobes is here. That's what Sam's saying. What's the occasion that we get a Kaiser Trobze?
I don't. Every now and then, you just gotta drop in and say hi.
With that really dope Secret Wars shirt on. Love the fade on that thing too. Like that's the only way to have it.
Dude, this is like the go-to shirt. I got this thing at Target years ago before everybody really knew about the comics
is the place to go to get like dope comic shirts too.
But not like this. Like this thing is like a super soft material. It's
yeah,
like,
I got one. That periodic table.
I love this shirt.
The Marvel periodic table of elements shirt I got is like super soft. The whole night.
Yeah.
Very.
I wish I could find another one. It's starting to wear out.
Yeah, but the fade is what makes it dope.
Yeah. Yep.
Like if it was like crisp, you gotta
That's
wash
how it came though. It came faded.
Yeah, the fade really makes it dope. We got Rich behind with the crook. His books are crooked behind him. Is your computer screen crooked?
It's my table for whatever reason. I don't know why my. Oh, hold up.
Oh, he's got a crooked table.
Do we need to get you a level or something?
There we go.
He's got a crooked table. So yeah, man, this was a dope week in comics, especially for Image Comics, right? Like Image kicked the door down this week with number ones. Like they were just Three Keys, Junkyard Joe, Dark Ride. Like Image was not playing Revolver. Image was not playing any games with their number ones this week.
2 option properties in 1 week.
Oh yeah, indie books too, right? Dark Horse and IDW, right? Night of the Ghoul from Dark Horse and Earth Divers from IDW. Option properties, indie option properties. That was really cool. Surprise. We knew Earth Divers was rumored to be option, but Night of the Ghoul, right? Day before release. That
was like an hour before we did our own thing on Tuesday.
You're not going to mention your favorite book of the week?
Jose, mine?
Yeah, from Image.
Kaya?
There you go.
I was getting there.
There we go. You mentioned every other Image book, but you didn't mention that one.
Listen, because I was getting there. Because Kaya needed a little bit of build up. Rich bounced on it. I think he went to fix the table leg. Kaya needed a little bit of build up. I had given Ian my reader stack of books, and Kaya was in it. Ian, did you read it?
This was awesome.
Yeah, right? Like dope. Kaya was on point.
Kaya was awesome.
Jose Rivera said, that's my guy, Rich. Never read those stupid words. Scroll through those pictures. Trobes, I'm sure Trobes and Ian both want to talk about this. I'm sure they both want to talk about that.
I'll go first, just because who wants to listen to Ian? Let's be honest. So we had ours. We put ours in the stream, obviously. And then
hesitantly, because I was like, yo, Trolls, should we keep it? And Trolls is like, nah, give it to the people. It's
hesitantly, but we put it in there. And it was obviously way under market for what it was going for. Now it's just blown up. So I just happened, so I for whatever reason, I had both my kids, and my daughter has dance on Thursday. And so took her to dance class, and I don't want to sit there for 45 minutes. So I go to my son, hey, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, let's go. I'm going to go get a coffee, and you can get a comic at one of our LCSs. So we take a ride down, walk into this comic shop, and lo and behold, there's a Edge of Spider-Verse 1 in 10 sitting there. And this place doesn't mark up the ratios. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll take one of those. What the heck, right? My son's picking out a comic and everything else. I walked to the other side to the indies, and there's a Sweetie cover that I didn't see. It was a Virgin Purple, another 1 in 10. Picked it up for cover. And I'm like, huh, this is pretty cool. So then I look up, and there's a Garbage Pail Kids stack, and I go through the stack, and there's another 1 in 10. And I'm like, what is going on right now? And then I look to the left, and there's a Dark Ride, 1 per store. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So I grabbed it and took a picture of it. And actually what I did was I sent it to Ian. Of course, Ian lost his mind because, you know, you want to play poker with Ian. Ian, you always know when Ian's upset. And he's like, there's no way you blah, blah. And he knows the same shop, and they only give it to you. You know, they don't charge. They just charge cover. They don't care. They put everything up. They do sometimes space them out so that you don't just get all the ratios in one shot, but nonetheless. So he's losing his mind and going crazy. But he said, as Ish would say, the homie, Sam Verado, was looking for that book. And I'm like, well, what the heck? So Sam's at the New York Comic Con right now, but I got a hold of him today, and it's going to go to Sam. And Sam made me a nice little trade of a Spider-Gwen 24, first print 9.8. And he had it for me, and we're talking. I go, well, here, I'll give you this. And so, yeah, it worked out for everybody. But, yeah, walked in the door, and it was just sitting there on the shelf.
So think about the fact that you paid $3.99 for a book off the shelf and turned it into a Spider-Gwen 24 9.8.
Yeah, yeah. I'll do it every day.
And here I am excited because I walked into my shop and they had another copy of Kaya that I bought today.
We still have copies of Kaya left.
Yeah, there's copies out there. I mean, honestly, that book was awesome. You know, before we did our thing on Tuesday, even the Dark Ride, the incentive cover, the 1 in 25, my wife took that before we even went live. Of course, number 2, we're going to order it. She's a huge Disney fan. It's a Beauty and the Beast homage. You know, we're ordering that book. We'll have that book. We're going to keep that separate, though. But again, if anyone read that book was awesome.
So Dark Ride was dope. Revolver was all right. Kaya might have been the best book. I don't know. Spider-Man #1 was good too, but Kaya was really, really, really good. Knew it was going to be good because I followed Kaya in the Image 30th anniversary anthology, and it was good there. So we kind of knew Kaya was going to be good. Kaya's a bigger book for its price, right? Like it's dense reading. Very interesting art choices on that book. Kaya was really good. Was going to ask Rich's opinion on Kaya. I know he got it, but I know he didn't read it. So there's no point in, no, you didn't read it. Did you like the pictures? You didn't open it, did you?
I don't open that. No. Opening the book depreciates value on the book, in my opinion. So there's some story. There's some books where you kind of feel like the illustration of the book kind of ruins the dialogue. Kaya was a perfect mix of illustration and dialogue. And I mean, there's few books that do that. It just hit it out of the park.
Well, you could tell this was a passion project. It's the guy who used to do Deadly Class. It's you could tell it's a passion project. Kaya, really, really strong story. I read his little article where he talked about when he created Kaya, how long he'd been working on Kaya, because he put her on the back burner to finish Deadly Class. And so he had planned to do this project for some time. And you can just tell, sometimes you can tell when people come up with a really good idea and then they just, put out the book on the fly, or when it's a passion project for someone, right? When it's something that's very important to them, they spend a lot of time on it, sometimes years. And then they put out a product that you can see the passion, the fervor for the characters, the work that really went into it, like real work. I see you got your grimoire behind you this week. What is it? Every week you're just going to be musical chairs with the comics on the wall.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, that was Image, man. Image put out some really good books this week. Revolver being in my opinion, the least of them. A good book, but it wasn't. Dark Ride was really good. A lot of people already said they can see the option on Dark Ride. Kirby homage of Kaya. I would have never bought. Yo, shout out to Sam Murdoch. The Kirby homage of Kaya is hard to find right now. Sam Murdoch says he would have never bought Kaya, but Ish's sales skills sold me. Appreciate you, man. That's humbling. Yeah, that Kirby homage of Kaya is really hard to find. That Sin City 1 in 50 was the only ratio variant. That's what impressed me. That's what impressed me, because it's like, okay, retailers have to order 50 copies of this book to get this ratio variant. How many retailers are going to jump off the porch just for that?
Well, that thing's going for crazy money too. I think the last sale was like around $100, and I don't even know if any are on eBay now. I didn't see any.
Kaya might be the next Eve in regards to ratio variants, right? Like that 1 in 50 of Eve #1 is still in the stratosphere of Eve #1. Even the 1 in 25 is doing well, but that 1 in 50 is well over $100, and it's been that way since it dropped. You know what I mean? And then with the new Eve series getting ready to drop from Boom, which was a surprise, right? Because nothing from Boom this week. Not to say nothing from Boom this week, but nothing speculative outside of the second print of Mighty Morphin Unlimited Death Ranger #1. Nothing real speculative, which is interesting. Boom had a light week, and Image was like, bam, we gonna drop boom, 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 boom. Right? Next week, Boom's got Approach #1 coming, which I'm interested in the premise of that book. It's not, and what I mean by that is, let me restate that. I'm interested in reading that book to see if I enjoy the book. Obviously, it's a new Boom book. It's got a ton of ratio variants. Everybody's going to be all over it. The premise right now isn't something that makes me want to be like, oh, it's kind of like Eat the Rich. Not the same story, but the premise of that story didn't make me, it didn't move me.
You mean to tell me you didn't buy every copy of Meet the Rich you could find?
No, I bought #1.
It could be variants.
I reviewed it actually, and I didn't write a favorable review of Eat the Rich #1. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't something that made me say I want to stick around and see what happens in issue 2. So, I mean, there's that.
But we do have to say, Boom had an absolute fire week last week.
What was that, Briar?
That was Briar. That was Grim #5.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they dropped 2 big ones. Two big ones. Yes, Peter Maresca says it. And there's 2 High Republic books coming out, right? So next week we got High Republic. We got Star Wars Visions. Man, there's a ton of dope books coming out next week. We got a first appearance dropping in Venom. Wakanda drops next week. Submariner's new book drops next week. I believe there's a new Image title dropping next week as well. Yeah. Yo,
Legacy of
shout out to
Violence.
Jason Robinson. Yeah, Legacy of Violence drops.
Hitomi.
Yeah. Hitomi. That's the one. The one that I'm interested in the most coming from Image next week is Hitomi #1. Not a ton of no racial variants or anything like that. Just a straight vanilla book. I love it when they do things like that, when they're not dropping 1 in 25s. And
There's a 1 in 25 for Hitomi.
Is there a 1 in 25?
Yep.
Not a 1 in 50, right?
Not that I know of. I know there's a 1 in 25.
I might have to snag a 1 in 25 of that book. I'm just throwing that out there. Shout out to Jason Robinson. Shout out to everyone in the room. So yeah, man, next week we got a dope weekend books coming too. This week, Marvel TV, or let's just say fandom TV, right? We got Andor. We got a really good episode of She-Hulk. And then we got Werewolf by Night today. So let's talk about that episode of She-Hulk, because we got what we've been waiting for, right? We got Daredevil.
We got Daredevil, and we got the suit.
And Daredevil banged She-Hulk.
Yep.
That just came out of nowhere. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Jennifer, he banged, not She-Hulk.
I mean, okay.
I mean, in fairness, maybe
that
she
came out of
changed
nowhere,
mid-
though.
You don't know, man. Maybe she changed mid-coitus. You don't know.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't know how I feel
I thought the same thing.
about Daredevil and She-Hulk
Yep.
I think we all feel the same way. Like,
handling business.
I was like, good for you, Daredevil. Good for you,
Like,
Matt
is
Murdock.
Disney doing the gratuitous thing here
I liked how Matt Murdock did the walk of shame, though, in the morning.
with no shoes?
why is he carrying the shoes?
I kind of think, to go what Ish was saying about Disney doing this or that, I think if you look at that episode of She-Hulk and then Werewolf by Night, they're gradually like getting to the point where they can do a Deadpool under their own title. Like, they're getting that slow progression, so it's not a shock of just dropping a Deadpool 3 under their umbrella, where that would kind of be like, whoa, what's going on here? But they're, I think, slowly kind of making that transition to, we can do things for older people, if you will, adults, but also the kid stuff.
People are gonna be pissed. So first of all, I thought Werewolf by Night was great from real beginning to end, and I like the production. I like how they did the old school feel. I like how you saw the little digital circle or the circle ripple when it pretended to be changing real to real. How about the V for violence attached to that television show? I see why they did it in black and white. I'm talking heads getting chopped off, people getting shot through the neck, blood, like blood.
The sword in the head.
Yep. Listen, I didn't think I was watching a Disney show.
Arms ripped off.
Yeah, and they did it tastefully, right? Like, the camera didn't last too long on the gore. You didn't see blood spurting as arms were ripped off or anything. It was very tastefully done. But the werewolf was literally biting chunks out of people. All of that.
Bit his ear off.
Say again?
Like,
He bit the guy's ear off.
Disney also has Hulu. Sean Mallory, he says Disney has Miramax, which has been their adult outlet for years, and them dropping Deadpool and DP2 on Disney Plus tips the Band-Aid off. Yeah, and it's interesting because Predator Prey was in Europe, overseas, came on Disney Plus because they don't have Hulu. So they got to watch Prey on Disney Plus. Very, very, very interesting. Yeah, Disney is definitely realizing that there's money on the table. It's going to piss a lot of people off. A lot of puritanical type thinkers. It's going to really piss people off. They already get pissed off with, red pandas and the such in Disney movies. They're definitely going to be pissed off and it's like, yo, there's going to be like a parental button. You don't have to let your children watch it. You just can click the button and it'll never even show up as an option.
Well, they already have the settings set up for it. Like, you have to go into the account and verify that you're over 18. So, but I mean,
so go on.
We're talking about that Werewolf by Night. That scene where he's in the hallway and like just the blood. It's black and white. It's not actually red blood, but like on the camera.
He knows martial arts.
Rude. Yeah.
Like he was using martial arts moves on people.
Yeah. To me, it was just brilliant. And, as my wife said, Elsa was badass. I'm sorry.
You know what, though? The only problem with Elsa is she reminds me of the actress who plays Jessica Jones.
I thought that's
in
who it was.
demeanor, the whole nine. Like
Yes.
the demeanor, the way she carries herself.
She even looks like
everything.
her.
It's so much Jessica Jones to me. What I liked about the show, I'm gonna name 2 points that I liked about the show. Point number one, I liked that that the whole point of the show, because I was surprised, I didn't expect that. The entire point of the show was to set up Elsa getting the Bloodstone. That was dope to me. The dopest part of the show, and maybe the dopest part of the MCU for me right now, is that what a perfect man thing. Perfect. Like, you look at the Moon Knight special effects and how the Moon Knight costume kind of looked hokey, and I'm like, wait a minute, why does Man Thing look so good? Like, Man Thing is the best. It's such a perfect. It's like casting Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man. Like, what they did with Man Thing and how I'm like, yo, that's Man Thing. 100% that's Man Thing. It doesn't look hokey. It doesn't look whack. It's Man Thing.
And like in the end, where it's in color, it doesn't even look hokey. Like
Right.
you know, a large criticism of She-Hulk has been the CGI.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that it wasn't hokey. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because you said your favorite thing about the show, and I knew where you were going with it. Like I knew we were going to get Man Thing because of the previews, but you know, here you go in thinking that you know the major protagonist that they're actually like going after is going to be you know Werewolf by Night, and it ends up being Man Thing. Sorry, Rich.
You're fine. You're fine.
Hear people pushing for the director of Werewolf by Night to do Blade now that they lost their director. That might be a thing, but that's got some problems itself. That they lost the director. That's another issue all on its own. And then we have Sean. I want to post that it was smart money to launch Disney Plus with mostly PG-13 fare, as that's what they're known for. It's 2 years past the launch, so all the family subscribers are already invested, and now they can get the I want R-rated content crowd. Disney wasn't able to buy Star Wars and Marvel because they make bad decisions. Very, very good point. And I also agree with Sam Murdoch that the CGI for She-Hulk doesn't bother me either.
That. I thought a lot of the criticism of She-Hulk was just. I mean, normally I take it all with a grain of salt, but I didn't think it's been one of the more enjoyable shows or movies that they've had in a while for me, anyways. I've actually really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, right, Tropes? Because we talked about it, and you know, we were like, "Where's the plot going?" And I'm like, I said to you, you know, think of it like a Law and Order SVU, right, where there's like maybe a backstory or or a subplot, but each episode can be looked at as a standalone episode, like a courtroom dramedy. You know what I mean? It's just the life of She-Hulk, and you know what I mean. And I think
that helped a lot.
I think the way they went with that was really really good. Plus, really good.
Plus, I like anything that breaks the fourth wall. That's why I always liked Deadpool.
Right.
I just like that. And
I just wish the episodes were longer. I wish they were more than just a half hour long. And I'm not saying an hour, but like 42 minutes, like a
well, you know what though? That's like for people like us who like the show, that's kind of the ingenious way to do it, right? It keeps you waiting and wanting more. So.
Well, that was the thing that made Mandalorian so great, right? Like some of the shows were as short as 38 minutes, some were over 50 minutes. And it's because in this era of television, right, rather than meet the demands of a network where we want 56 or 50 something minutes, tell the story. When the story's done in the story, right? Like don't make people stay around for 15 to 17 minutes of filler. Just tell the story. And if it takes you 38 minutes to tell the story, then that's what it took. If it takes you 53 minutes to tell the story, then that's what it took. But what I want to talk about She-Hulk is the one thing that no one is talking about. We got a mutant in She-Hulk. Mr. Immortal. We got a mutant in the She-Hulk television series. Mr. Immortal made his appearance. I was marking out. I'm like, okay, man, they're really, really hammering down on this, getting mutants into the Marvel universe. Yeah, he was great.
I thought the way that they introduced him with all the women and the way he just ends up dying because he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. Like, you know, I'm just going to kill myself. Yeah, I threw myself in front of a bus. Got out of that relationship real quick. I thought it was hilarious.
I like that I picked up his first appearance like the week before. And as soon as I saw him on there, I called this. I was like, you're not going to believe this.
It's because you're lucky. That's why.
Mr. Immortal.
I'll say it. You're lucky.
Mr. Immortal is one of a line. Right, so I know they want to say Kamala Khan was the first mutant that we've seen in the MCU, but I still look at Wiccan and Speed or Wanda's children, and I'm like, okay, well, they have to be mutants because they are mutants. So I kind of think that they're probably the first technical mutants we've seen, and then we've seen Ursa Major, the Man Bear, and Black Widow, also a mutant. And then we've seen, now we've seen Mr. Immortal, who we know is a mutant.
We're going to see Namor.
Kamala Khan is confirmed to be a mutant. And Namor the Submariner has the character who portrays him has come out and said that his character is a mutant. So the mutants are here. The mutants are here.
So I mean, we talked about Werewolf at Night. We talked about She-Hulk this week. We also got a new trailer for Black Panther.
Loved it.
Yep.
And I mean, it went in the direction we all know it's going in.
Not only is it going in that direction, it's been confirmed that she has signed on for a long-term deal. I think like 20 appearances. So she'll be Black Panther for the duration. Well, maybe not. That's that's what people are speculating, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be the case.
Didn't she sign on though? Like, people were speculating that she was going to be Black Panther because she signed on for a long deal like a little bit ago. It wasn't like more recent, correct? Am I wrong on that?
In the last year, she signed on.
Yeah. So it's not like it just happened type of thing, right?
Well, her and Dominique Thorne. I think Dominique Thorne signed up for major appearances too. The article that I read says that she's going to become very close with Dominique Thorne and replace Tony Stark as that she's going to fill that Tony Stark role in the MCU. So there you have that. Shout out to Jerry Whitman. Sean Mallory, we're not about to do this, bro. It's Magneto. That's what it is. It's Submariner. Sean Mallory wants to know. Darren Tucci, shout out to Darren Tucci. Submariner, or Submariner. I like Submariner. I like Submariner. That's what it is. We're not going to leave that one up too long. So yeah, we got the Black Panther trailer. We're getting a really good looking movie dropping from DC this month, and Black Adam, which looks really, really good. Really good. It looks good. And when's the last time The Rock's done a bad movie? So maybe DC gets a win this time.
I'm a mark for The Rock, so
I'm not San Andreas. Rampage. That was garbage.
And then we're getting Black Panther next month. So wow, right? Like this time last year, people were feeling some type of way with the pandemic and all the Marvel movies being pushed back. Or maybe it was 2020.
It's an exciting time to live.
But we're not even talking about the best thing we saw. Super Mario Brothers?
Super Mario Brothers was a great trailer.
I thought it was, and I am not, I will tell you, I am not a cartoon fan. And maybe it's just because I remember buying a Nintendo and playing that game when I was, I don't know how old I was, but young. I love every second of that trailer. I was like, this is going to be fun.
So what's awesome is that the fact that they didn't do live action. Mm-hmm. I think the animation for that is awesome for what we've seen. And
I love the opening of the trailer. And those little penguins are
throwing snowballs.
He's like, do you use a Ritter? No. He just burns their castle down. And the part that just got me marking out was when they were like, do-do-do-do-do-do, and then Mario just like falls into the mushroom land. I'm like, yes, because that is so dope how they did that trailer, man. Trailer's really dope.
I'm excited.
Don't touch that mushroom, you'll die.
That one's okay.
Oh no, not that one. That one's okay.
One thing I did read is that I guess people are being a little harsh and being a little critical on Chris Pratt's voice for Mario. That like they don't like it.
So I from what I heard, I didn't have an issue with it.
I mean, tropes.
I mean, it's a voice. It's a cartoon. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was supposed to be all exactly off the video game. So
tropes. You're an Italian American. Do you feel as though it, that they does it hurt?
Just let me know when I should hit mute.
Or your heritage.
No, like listen, they can make fun of it all they want. I don't care. I don't get offended. Comedy's comedy, man. Funny's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's a good film,
yeah.
We were just talking a couple weeks ago about them Super Mario books, right? Right here on CSP, and then a trailer drops, and it's like, yo, I don't know, man. What are we doing? Are we tapping into like the psychic others or something, and just pulling things out and saying, hey, Are we just randomly saying you should be specking on this? Because we were definitely talking about those Super Mario joints and all of those 80s iconic properties and IPs. We were definitely talking about them on CSP. Man, these CSP shows, they're on record somewhere. Go back and check them, people. It is what it is. Like, go back and check them. I'm telling you now, go get Strawberry Shortcake.
Those Chuck Norris books are going to pan out eventually.
Telling you now, go get Strawberry Shortcake, go get Rainbow Bright. Like, I'm just kidding about Rainbow Bright, but go get Strawberry Shortcake. Listen, if My Little Ponies has a successful book,
they have a #1 coming out.
People raged against Michael Keaton's Batman until they didn't. Same for Heath Ledger's Joker until they didn't. Ad nauseum. Mario will do well, just as long as it's not John Leguizamo. As long as it's not John Leguizamo, we're good. I'm just saying. I'm just saying we're good as long as it's not. And I like John Leguizamo, like he's dope, great actor. But man, why they cast him as Mario? I don't get it. I don't get it. So what else, Trope? Since you brought up Mario, what else you got for us?
Well, hang on, I'm trying to see when this is coming out here. And speaking of My Little Pony, they're relaunching it. And
Jerry Whitman asked, "Do we remember the Rambo comic?" Keep the comments coming, comiXsense crowd, community crew. Keep it coming.
I got 2 of those.
Keep them coming.
I got 2 of those Chuck Norris too, Ian.
Do you remember the Rambo comic book? I do remember the Rambo.
You have the direct and the newsstand.
Wow, we're just going to do me like that, okay? Yeah.
Of what, Chuck Norris?
I know. I only got 2 direct. I don't have a newsstand.
So yeah, I don't even know what we're specking on Chuck Norris comics.
No. He made a comment earlier that he has Chuck Norris, and I remember he had gotten one.
That's because he likes Chuck Norris. He's a Chuck Norris fanboy. But
I'm a Chuck Norris fanboy, man.
I don't see why Chuck Norris, outside of fandom, would be a spec-worthy book. Maybe the first issue.
It's not. It's not. I'm just simply saying.
If he dies.
If he dies, like you saw Jean-Claude Van Damme on the comic book, you bought it because like, oh, he's an action star and I like him. It's
Was he doing a split?
Yeah, between 2 semis. Yeah.
Was it like a Universal Soldier comic book?
I don't know. Like, I'm guessing if you would see, if it was, yes, that's what it was.
I mean, you said
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yes.
Was Bloodsport?
Yes, Bloodsport. That's it.
Peter Maresca, have you ever noticed in the Expendables 2 when Chuck Norris shows up, all the bad guys run away?
Because he's the lone wolf. He runs alone in his own wolf pack.
All right. We're gonna move away from Chuck Norris and Rambo comics, and we're gonna move on.
Appreciation for Chuck Norris or Chuck Norris jokes.
We're gonna move away from that. So I want to talk, and it always goes this route for me, so y'all can stop me. I want to talk. Since we now have mutants in the MCU, right? And we know that the first tentative show that deals with mutants is going to be called The Mutants. What do y'all think this means for the X-Men franchise? Are we going to get a franchise called the X-Men?
I mean, it'd be nice if they did.
I mean, are you asking if we're going to get an X-Men movie?
Yeah, called the X-Men.
I just always kind of assumed they were going that route. Yeah.
Well, the reason why they're speculating that this property is called the Mutants is because gender issues with the word X-Men versus, there's a bunch of women on the team as well.
And I was reading that, and it doesn't it just kind of seem ridiculous? I mean, and I'm not trying to be insensitive to the whole thing, but obviously Marvel's direction is, they're going in the direction of women taking over prominent roles, for a majority of our characters, for a majority of the characters. Like, they're
I don't think that's the direction they're going in. But I'll put this up. I agree, Sean, that there will be an iteration of the X-Men. My curiosity is it going to be called the X-Men? I think personally they'll call it Children of the Atom.
So I never really thought about it until just now, but I'm not. I would actually be, and I usually don't get upset about this stuff. That would be something I think I'd be a little bit upset about if it wasn't X-Men. I think I'd actually be a little bit upset about that. That would have the. Go ahead.
No, go.
I mean, it had the same effect of like, and we've talked about this how many times ish. I could care less if you want to swap almost anything really, except for certain like iconic things. And the only other time I've cared about anything is when MJ didn't have red hair.
Mm-hmm.
That was I don't care. Do whatever you want, but keep certain things iconic. And that name X-Men, I actually, as I'm thinking about it, I think I'd actually care about that and be like,
you know, I'm heavily invested in the name X-Men. One of the things I always considered, even growing up, was like, well, they're not all men. Not that it made an issue. It was an issue to me at all, because it wasn't. The reason why they're saying that the first mutant property will be called the Mutants, which is originally, like, there was a book that dropped before X-Men called the Mutants. So I think one, it homages that, but two, I think the reason behind it is it's coming to Disney. People are gonna be like, well, they're not all men. Some of them are women. Many of them are women. So I think there's an issue there where they want to be politically correct. But for me, so if they come up with some totally new name like the X Genesises or something like that, I'm gonna feel some type of way. But if they use a name synonymous with the X-Men instead of the X-Men, like Children of the Atom, I'm not gonna be upset. If they use a name synonymous with the X-Men, which Children of the Atom is synonymous with the X-Men, so I could definitely, I'd be cool with that. I'd be cool with that, as long as the movie's good, right? Because that's what's gonna matter. Like, nobody really cares what the title is if the film is dope. If the film is really dope, the title isn't going to matter. No one's going to be like, oh, that movie, I'm not going to watch. I hate that movie because of the name. If the film is dope.
So I think I kind of disagree. I think people will be really, really mad. If they're mad about just everything now anyway, like when you're taking away something, a property like that, and changing it to whatever you want to change it, Children of the Atom or whatever you want to change it to, Deadly Genesis, I don't know, whatever you want to change it to. I think it would cause a lot of people to get really upset.
But they wouldn't really be true X-Men fans. And the reason why I'm saying that is because real X-Men fans,
I don't think you could say that.
Know what children.
I don't think you can say that.
Yeah, but how can you be mad at Children of the Atom? Like, how can you be mad at that if you're an X-Men fan?
How many issues are there of Children of the Atom?
There are none, but they're it's a reference to the X-Men. It's like a known reference to the X-Men.
Reference.
It's like calling a Spider-Man movie Webhead.
If it was called Webhead, I'd be like really mad.
Okay, but excuse me, or the Web Slinger. No real Spider-Man fan is gonna be mad if a film is called the Web Slinger. But why would you be mad?
I would, because it's not. It's. I don't collect the Web Slinger. I don't have boxes of the Web Slinger.
Yeah, but that doesn't take away from the fact that, you know, as a Spider-Man fan, they're talking about Spider-Man. It's as synonymous with Spider-Man as Amazing Spider-Man is. No, it's spectacular. Not. It is.
So amazing. Everybody knows Amazing Spider-Man.
But readers know Spider-Man as Web Slinger, as the Web Slinger. That's what I mean. It's as synonymous.
Who knows it as Web Slinger?
Well, hold on. Wait a minute. People who don't read comics don't know it as the Amazing Spider-Man. They just know it as Spider-Man.
Right.
They don't know him as Peter Parker the Spectacular.
They don't know it as Web Slinger.
Well, I said Spider-Man fans, comic fans.
I understand that.
Why would they be upset if they called the film Web Slinger? You know they're referring to Spider-Man. It's like taking a movie, right? And this is really corny, but it's like taking Hulk and calling it Hulk Smash. Something synonymous with Hulk, not something that isn't.
And I said I wouldn't like that either.
Like, yeah, but they didn't call the Hulk film Incredible Hulk.
Is the next Batman film going to be called Bat Person Green?
No, but if they called it the world's greatest
Okay,
detective,
that's. I think. I mean,
or
that
they called
that
it
I
the
think
Long
is-
Halloween.
I mean, Bad Person Green's a little different, but
Yeah.
I mean, no, yeah, that's. I'm in full disagreement on that. No, I would be upset if they called it. I mean, I think if they would go maybe amazing fantasy, you might get me back. You know what I mean? You might get
But either
me
way, that's a better
closer.
example. But still, either way, something synonymous with Spider-Man versus something totally new. You know what I mean? Just to appease people is like something synonymous that people recognize. Like people recognize Children of the Atom. Like it's recognizable, and it speaks to. It's better than the
It's not
mutants.
recognizable to everybody though. Like it.
No,
But
Iron Man wasn't recognizable to like 100 people outside of comic who read comics when they came out with the Iron Man movie.
No, yeah, but they didn't. Yeah, but people knew who Iron Man was. My wife doesn't know comics. She lives with me, and she knew who Iron Man was. She never.
Okay.
So like, and she doesn't know comics to save her life. So
I'm sure she's seen or heard you say Iron Man before. But the
Oh,
average
probably.
Joe Blow who was going to pay to see movies didn't know who no Iron Man was.
I
Anybody
I
read
I
Iron Man?
disagree. I disagree.
Anybody
With that. They may
read
not
Iron
know
Man?
who they've heard of Iron Man.
They didn't hear of Marvel's Thor.
Do you think they know who Thor? They don't think they
Everyone
know
knew
who Thor was.
No.
everyone knew.
Oh no way.
Everyone knew who Thor was. You're talking about characters in the early 2000s that were people. You were nerds if you had comic T-shirts.
Right.
Like
I was one of them, I know.
Don't be confused with the
I never
popularity
thought
of these characters now versus the early. The
I didn't say popularity.
I'm talking to Ian.
About,
I'm responding to Ian because Ian said everybody knew who Thor was, and that is not true. 90% of people who collected comics didn't even buy Thor, let alone people outside of comics.
But he's recognizable, is what I'm saying. Like you may not have read it, you may not have collected it, but people know who Thor is. People, I mean, like that. I think that's silly.
If
say they don't know
I think maybe because of mainstream media tropes, but I mean, up until a few years ago, and Thor coming out, and while I was in high school, college, I didn't know who Thor was. I didn't know who Iron Man was.
I know a lot of people who will say that.
Did you ever hear of them?
No.
You've never heard of Thor or Iron Man?
Never.
And there's a lot of people who say that. It wasn't
here's
until
what-
the MCU made these characters household names
That's
because those
the
movies
point.
were so dope.
But now here's the thing, Tropes. Like none of my friends though.
It's the reason why none of those IPs were licensed, and Marvel still owned them. Because nobody cared about Thor.
I don't believe that.
And certainly Iron Man.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that people don't know who the X-Men are.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know who the X-Men are until the Fox films. I grew up, I'm a huge fan of X. A lot of people didn't know who the X-Men were until the Fox films. They knew the black girl. They couldn't tell you her name was Storm. They've seen her, but they couldn't tell you her name was Storm.
Okay, but did they ever hear of the X-Men?
I'm sure people have.
That's all I'm saying.
But that's because you can't compare the X-Men to Thor. The X-Men, that run was the greatest selling run in the history of comics. There wasn't even a close second.
The Claremont run?
Yeah, there wasn't even a close second. Like there was not even a close second. Maybe Batman at Marvel and Spider-Man. Spider-Man and Captain America, I would venture to say, and Incredible Hulk were the most recognizable characters for Marvel for a long time. Spider-Man, Captain America, Incredible Hulk. Yep. The most recognizable by far. By even more so than Wolverine. Outside of comic fandom. Outside of comics, why would somebody know who Wolverine was who didn't read comics?
Everyone knew who Wolverine was.
How?
That I agree with Ishan.
Tell me how they would know.
Wolverine's not like ASM or X-Men.
He's not comparable to Spider-Man or Hulk or Captain America. How would they know? Pre an X-Men cartoon, how would people just know who Wolverine was?
Yeah, all right. This is where I agree to disagree.
They weren't reading comics. These weren't mainstream properties. Hold on, let me check the comments. Corey James, it's just read about Thor and Iron Man at L. Sean Mallory, no way. If you show pre-MCU fans a pic of any Thor, they think he was from an 80s hair metal band. This is for real. This is like for not hating on Thor or any of these characters. The Marvel movie, the MCU,
Adventures in Babysitting.
the MCU made these characters really recognizable. People would see them on T-shirts and not be able to identify their name.
I didn't know what that helmet was, Ian, until way later on, until I finally knew what the helmet was. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Thor's helmet. I get it. But up until like the movies coming out, no idea who Thor was. Didn't know who the God of Thunder was. No idea. No clue. But of course, X-Men helped. I knew who X-Men were. Like that was a recognizable name. Absolutely. Spider-Man, recognizable. If you go DC, Batman, Superman, Joker, and then
Wonder Woman. Flash. DC characters are much more recognizable than Marvel characters.
So this story is anecdotal, but it's true, and Ish, you could ask our mutual friend Mikey on this. So before MCU, before marriage, so we're talking 20 years, we always went on a baseball trip, and I was wearing a Thor shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in Chicago, and he was getting mad because we did like a Segway tour. We did Gino's East. We did Al's number one. Like we did all these different places, and every female, they were all female, said, "I love your Thor shirt." It was a Marvel Thor shirt. You've probably seen me wear it. This was before MCU.
Okay.
Now it's anecdotal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just may have caught certain people that just happen to know it, but that was before it was cool to wear a Thor shirt.
I agree. I believe you.
So
what I'm saying is there are people.
Well, I know you believe me because you know I'm not going to lie about it. But
yes.
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying Thor isn't recognizable and people don't know who he is. I'm saying that the vast majority of people could not tell you who Thor was or any of these characters. They could tell you DC characters: Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman, even Flash. Outside of those, a Joker. Outside of those,
Sean, you're funny.
You understand what I'm saying? Think about it. Marvel's 3 most recognizable characters I named them was Captain America.
No, Sean, it didn't.
Spider-Man.
It didn't read Thor on it. It just had him with the hammer. It didn't read Thor on it.
Don't lie.
It didn't. I'll show you the shirt next time you're over on Tuesday. I'll show it to you.
Yeah, the success of the MCU did a lot, especially for Iron Man. Trobes, you don't remember because you didn't grow up collecting that. Nobody collected Iron Man.
Right.
Nobody bought Iron Man. Comic fans didn't buy Iron Man.
Comic fans still don't buy Iron Man.
That's true.
They didn't buy Thor. I'm not hating, but they didn't buy Thor.
Thor had. Aaron's is the first real good run that I can think of. Yeah, his run was.
Walt Simonson had a good run, but you had to really be a Walt Simonson fan because it was very hard to read Thor. I went back and bought the omnibus, and it's brutal. Yeah,
it's brutal.
It's like kids did not want to read. Kids did not want to read Thor. Not when I could read X-Men. Yeah, it was bad.
It's brutal.
It wasn't bad. It was just not.
No, it was bad. You could say it was bad.
Yeah, it was, and then he's in Asgard, and it's like, come on, man. I didn't come here for mythology class, right? Fight the Hawk or something, bro. Like, can we fight the Hawk? Like you're fighting Ulick, or you know what I mean? Like you're fighting, like, come on, man. There are some books you couldn't read. Ram the Space Knight, right? Like,
Trumps. The only thing I could think is that when you were in Chicago, you ran into like a huge there was like a Norwegian tour group.
Listen, it was so funny because Ish knows our friend Mike. He's basically the same age, and it was at the end of the night, and we just got done with the Segway tour, and a different girl we're bringing the Segways back, and she goes, "Man, I really like that Thor shirt," and he started to yell, "Come on, what is going on all day today? What? How was this possible?" Because they were all ragging on me because I was wearing a Thor shirt, and they all, they grew up with us, so they kind of knew comic books, but it wasn't cool then. It was like, dude, you're wearing a Thor shirt for real? But everybody said they liked it, and they were all females, and they were freaking out. It was the funniest thing.
I remember when I was 12 years old, I had this Wolverine shirt, because, when I was 12, I had a Wolverine shirt because Wolverine wasn't popular until that TV show came out. So the TV show came out, and I got ragged on and picked on because I was a nerd and wearing a Wolverine T-shirt. So I actually turned it inside out. Like,
I've been there. I used to have an X-Men hat when I first joined the military, and it was like, it didn't even feel cool wearing it. You know what I mean? It literally was a white hat with X-Men written across the front with the X-Men logo from the comic, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm just gonna wear it because I'm just gonna be me because I'm always me, and I'm an X-Men dude. But it was, back then, and this was in like the '90s. It was just not it wasn't a thing. Like, it really wasn't a thing. Like, you were considered a nerd or a geek or what have you. You know what I mean?
What was the game that I was?
Children of the Atom.
No, was it I don't know what game it was, but I remember you and like my cousin and Jonathan playing this game. And at one point you went, because I was, so if anybody doesn't know, Itch and I grew up together, but he's like, what, 5 years older than me. So I was always, like, when he was hanging out with certain people, I was hanging out with their brother because that's how the age range went. And at one point they were playing this game, and it was like a board game, and you went like this, the sound for Wolverine, and you basically attacked John, saying that you were killing him with your claws. But I can't, that was the first time.
It might have been like one of those Marvel superheroes RPGs.
Okay.
Because they used to have champions and Marvel superheroes.
I know it was an old game, but to get to Sean's thing here, this is something that you and I have talked about a lot, where it's now cool, right? It's pop culture now.
Yeah, they're our generation's or our children's Disney characters now.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're Mickey Mouses and the Donald Ducks and the Minnie Mouses, and that's what they are now. Everybody recognizes these characters. But yeah, Ian, I didn't mean to come at you. And that as well. Underoos, right? Underoos were a thing, right? You could get Superman, you can get Flash, you can get Spider-Man, you can get Batman underoos.
What are underoos?
Yeah, what are underoos?
They're like pajamas.
Oh.
They call them underoos.
I still say no one knows who underoos.
So
my wife, which collects comics, I could go downstairs and be like, honey, on this photo, which one is Aquaman? And she will have no idea.
Jason's 100% correct. Anyways, go on.
So yeah, that the media, multimedia, like, if you guys probably don't remember, Trobes, you had to be pretty young in 1989 when Batman dropped, like
9 years old.
So much Batman merchandise. Like, Batman hats. It was cool to have Batman hats, Batman medallions, t-shirts. Like, there was so much. And that was kind of the era when for a time, it kind of became cool to wear comic merchandise. It was hip hop, like the hip hop culture was wearing it, rock culture. Everybody had a black t-shirt with the yellow Batman emblem from the movie. The hat, like, it was really, really cool in 1989. And then that kind of went away, right? Because Spider-Man didn't have the merchandising engine, excuse me, that Batman had. We're talking 80s, summer blockbuster films were the thing. They put out a blockbuster film and they put out McDonald's glasses and toys, and they put out everything that you can put out. And by the time the 90s came, that wasn't the thing anymore. When that Amazing Spider-Man film dropped, it didn't have the same type of merchandising engine as Batman did. So it kind of became not cool to wear comic shirts and comic gear anymore.
You know what's funny though is I just looked it up now because you were talking about the merchandise behind it in the late 80s. So I found at my parents' house my Ninja Turtles lunchbox when we were cleaning stuff out, and I just looked up to see. I just threw it on eBay just to see when it was, and it's from 1989. Remember that blue plastic lunchbox with the white handle? If you go to like eBay and just type in TMNT vintage lunchbox. You can, if you want, you can show people what I'm talking about. But I remember I had that, and as everybody knows, I love turtles. I collect turtle stuff, and that was from back then. So they must have, but I can't remember the marketing because I was only 9 years old, 9 years old. But I remember I had that lunchbox, and the only reason I would have that is if I asked for it, because my parents would never know anything about that.
I mean, so that was always cool, right? Like Turtles gear, Power Rangers gear, lunch boxes, things like that. Kids could get away with that stuff. We, as adults,
But now, I mean, look at it. Trubs,
Now-
you're wearing a Secret
now
War
it's
shirt.
different.
Every once in a while, I'll walk it, when it's one of those jeans and t-shirt days at work, like I'll walk in wearing a Spider-Man shirt.
I mean, well, I was always a dude. I just wore what I wanted anyway. But
Rich is wearing the Captain America shirt.
Yeah. That's-
Trubs,
But
I had
that's the thing,
lunchbox.
though. It's socially acceptable now, and you can thank social media, you can thank movies, TV, you can thank Hollywood essentially for that, because without it, it would never be in mainstream. It's what Ish and Trobe said earlier, that it's this generation's now version of what Disney characters are, and they're exactly right, because without it, no one would wear it. People would still call you nerd. It would have picked up like it was in the 90s and would have never stopped. But
like, I would love to have been marketed a Masters of the Universe T-shirt. I'm serious. Like, I would love a Stridor T-shirt or Orko. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Even now.
anybody
care.
listening and watching, you should buy him a shirt for Christmas.
Rich, by the way, in the 90s, nobody was rocking Disney. No dude was rocking Disney t-shirts.
A lot of people wore Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did, Ian.
Mickey Mouse has
There
always
was
kind
a
of been a
Disney
thing.
store in every mall. Are you kidding me right now? People were rocking Disney. They had
Yeah,
more adult
yeah.
section stuff than kids stuff. Yes, they were.
I mean, I don't think there were a lot of guys rocking Disney, but they definitely did wear like Mickey Mouse shirts. There
Listen,
was the classic Mickey
would-
Mouse shirts.
I will say
didn't wear
I
one
never
personally.
wore a Mickey Mouse shirt. I never wore a Looney Tunes shirt.
Oh, I wore a Looney Tunes shirt.
I never
Like-
had.
I had a Looney Tunes shirt. I used to
remember
know
being-
though. I used to know that whole. Well, this is Tiny Toons, but I used to know that whole
Tiny Toons
United
was
States,
so
Canada,
dope.
Mexico, Panama.
Yo,
Peru.
Tiny Toons was dope,
Yeah,
man.
I remember
Duck.
that.
Plucky Duck was my dude, bruh.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
I don't
Or
know.
he did the wrestling match. What was the Triangle Man fights? Yo, that was my joint, man. Plucky Duck. Yo, I'm sorry, bro. Plucky Duck was that dude. Animaniacs too.
Guys, I hope to be back. I got a family video. I hope to be back in a few minutes. All right.
A family video.
Yeah, we got Houston, California.
They're out of
New York.
business
We're all
now.
trying to do it. All trying to get together.
So you're leaving, or you're just muting and pausing?
I'm leaving, but I'm hoping to come back in a few minutes. Hoping.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Jason said nerds rule the world. As children, they are persecuted, but eventually rule it off. Nerds, or are we going to differentiate between nerds and geeks, right? Nerds are supposed to be like brainiacs. Geeks are supposed to be like into things like Magic the Gathering and comic books and
So
Dungeons and Dragons.
as I always say, I will always admit to being a comic book nerd, but at least I'm not a Star Wars dork. So
That's because you don't like money.
That's because you're not really a nerd. Because if you're a nerd, you'd be smart enough to know that you should always have Star Wars comics within reach.
So
Yep.
the funny thing is at the present moment I do have Star Wars comics within reach.
Yeah, you just bought a Star Wars comic.
Yeah, Mandalorian, right?
Yeah. All of a sudden this guy buys a Star
Always
Wars comic.
funny when Ian tries to walk out without anyone noticing that he's got a Star Wars book. It's so funny. It's so funny. No, Peter, we love Star Wars around here.
Yep.
Well, we don't necessarily love Star Wars, but we certainly love investing in Star Wars comic books around here. Love investing in Star Wars comics around here. And speaking of which, somebody brought up, I believe it might have been Peter, High Republic dropping next week.
Mhm.
Star Wars Visions dropping next week, and then guess what's dropping guess what's on FOC the next week? Another Star Wars High Republic book. Marvel is dropping a second Star Wars High Republic book. Star Wars High Republic Blades is coming. Listen, getting really excited. Dark Horse is going to be dropping a High Republic book. We told you, High Republic is the future of Star Wars on film. Oh, he said he was referring to Ian. Sean says all us 40-somethings with disposable cash and getting jobs in the entertainment industry are driving all things pop culture. Listen, all of us people who realized how dope the 80s were, born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. Listen, we are getting a return on our fandom investment for all things 80s. One of the greatest generations, right? So many dope things. Toys, best toys ever made were made in the 80s.
Metal.
All of the dope comic properties ever. There's never been a Transformers toy with the exception of these 100 points of articulation high-end toys, like the ones that were made in the 80s.
Lead paint and all.
Listen, what was Megatron? A Walter P. Listen,
Yep.
with the scope, you'll never get that again, bro. With the armor, you'll never get it again.
My favorite, I can't think. My brain just went mush. You'd know, he was the tape.
Shockwave.
Yes, thank you. Soundwave. And he would go. I remember I had.
Well, there were two. There was
the
Autobot and the Decepticon, but the Autobot came after the Decepticon.
Yeah, no, I had a Decepticon.
Yeah, he had the best tape. He
It
had
was like
Ravage.
purple or blue.
Yeah, it was like blue. He had Ravage.
Okay.
The black tape with Ravage, who turned into like the wolf. Yo, Ravage was the best tape, man. Ravage was so dope, man. Ravage was so dope.
It figures the 80s had the boombox character.
Yeah, G.I. Joe toys were better than Star Wars toys.
Yes.
Star Wars toys were cool, but they had no points of articulation.
Nope.
G.I. Joe, man, you could have battle royals and wrestle. They could do everything. Storm Shadow could do all the ninja moves.
Plus, they had those. The aircraft carrier, right? I've never seen it.
Had the aircraft.
There was no toy. I can remember the size of that stupid thing.
We had a room in my house that was just simply our G.I.
You only
Joe.
had one room in your house?
No, we had a room specifically set up as a G.I. Joe room where we had the aircraft carrier. And what's funny is no one in my school believed me that we had the aircraft carrier. So I would invite people over one by one to come play G.I. Joes and like use the aircraft carrier.
Yo, G.I. Joes, it was crazy because every year you got like 2 new series and they always upped the game. Like, I mean, they went crazy. You're getting Sergeant Slaughter and like a Rocky Balboa, but they couldn't use Rocky, so they put like a mask on his head, but he was Diesel with the boxing gloves. And then my favorite one was Tunnel Rat. He came with the alligator.
Which one was it? Was it the green costume or the red costume?
The Tunnel Rat had the green with the bandana and the black streaks on his face. Oh, did he? Well, the green one is the one that came with the alligator. No, might have been Crocmaster. No, it was Tunnel Rat.
Yeah,
that aircraft carrier is worth some loot right now. Yeah, Crocmaster had the alligator.
I wish.
Yeah, Crocmaster had the alligator. I thought it was. Go on.
My mother just tossed it out in the garbage the one week.
Oh.
I had my favorite Joe toys. My favorite was Cobra Commander with the metal bodysuit. Cobra La, which had Nemesis Enforcer and Globulus, and then I liked Zartan, Zarana, and their other brother, and I also like Tomax and Zaymot.
So, mine refrigerator Perry.
No, Sam, Tunnel Rat was he was the sewer dude.
Yeah, he was actually in one of the movies. Like in one of the G.I. Joe movies.
Yeah, Tunnel Rat had the green bandana and the streaks of like dirt on his face.
So I had to look it up because I couldn't remember the name of it.
But he was a military guy. You're right. They all were military.
my favorite was actually like the stupidest thing ever, but I remember I loved it because it didn't like I actually used it like it's from the early 80s, late 80s, so I had it in the bathtub all the time, and it's the Mud Fighter. If you remember that plane, it had a little like propeller on the back of it. I used to love that stupid thing, and I couldn't remember what it was called, but I just had to look it up. That was my G.I. Joe toy. That was my go-to.
So that whole arc, go on.
My go-to was the gray, like the first plane, the G.I. Joe plane. Mm-hmm. And then I also had like the Cobra Harrier jet.
Oh, and the hiss.
Yeah.
See, I wanted everybody that was ninja related, like Jinx, Beachhead, Scorpion. It was very hard for me to get a Scorpion where the arms and legs weren't like super loose, but like Scorpion, Storm Shadow. But So I put up what Peter said. Serpentor was dope because that whole arc bothered me, man. I was really pissed because Cobra Commander was my dude. And like Dr. Mindbender and all them turned against him. They turned him into a Cobra and then just like let him go into the wild, dude. I was feeling some type of way, bro. Like, yo, I was glad when he showed back up with the suit beating everybody up, man. Because like, yo, what are we doing? What are we doing?
How did it make you? Not to change the cartoon, but and spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it in 30 years, when they killed Optimus, that
you're about to be blocked and unfriended, dude.
Dude, like that really. I remember sitting there watching it, like no.
They did it to sell toys too, and I didn't realize that.
Neither did I. Like, I was just
later,
I'm sitting there. I'm like, they didn't just. That like messed me up.
yo, right? And then they cussed in it too. We said the D word, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm in the movie theater watching this movie, and it's like the Matrix comes out of him and goes to like Hot Rod. Rod, you're riding around with Cup and Springer, and now all of a sudden you're Rodimus Prime. Man, stop it, dude. I was feeling some type of way. I was mad they killed Starscream, but I was happy he possessed Swoosh. Like, I was mad about Starscream. I was more mad about Starscream dying than I was Optimus, but Optimus was sad.
Yeah, that killed me.
Like, Galvatron did him dirty.
Yeah.
So
Optimus was sad.
So what's funny is we keep talking about G.I. Joe, but in my crawl space here at home, I have like the full run of the first series of G.I. Joe figures.
That's awesome.
So, original Cobra Commander.
Get them graded.
G.I. Joe Trooper. Original Snake Eyes. Original Storm Shadow. There's a bunch of them. I'd have to pull them out.
I'm just going to come get them.
Absolutely not.
I'm just going to take your Masters of the Universe run.
You have the power.
Ian doesn't even have Masters of the Universe.
Ian doesn't play with toys.
This is a good point. The original plan was to kill Duke in the G.I. Joe cartoon movie, but the backlash to Optimus' death made them change.
And then like 30 years later, they killed everybody anyways.
That original cartoon movie it didn't bother me. Again, I didn't like what they did to Cobra Commander and that whole arc at all. I did not like what they did to Cobra Commander. I'm like, yo, so all your peoples is about to turn on you, huh? Starting with Dr. Mindbender. Because he had a dope cadre, right? He had Baroness. He had Destro. He had Major Blood. He had Dr. Mindbender. Like, his cadre of leaders around him, and Tomax and Zaymot were dope. Oh, and Zartan.
Yep.
As every Star Wars, G.I. Joe, and He-Man figure to this day. I'm a big He-Man fan. If I could afford two hobbies to the extent that I'll go crazy with comics, I would have every He-Man action figure. I'm talking Ram Man brown pants, Ram Man green pants, like Strider blue wings, Strider red wings. Like, I would have every one in the best condition I can find them in. I just can't afford that type of. I can't. And when I was a kid, I broke them off. Yeah, I would love to do He-Man like that. Like, really love to be able to do He-Man in particular. Wonder Bread He-Man. Fake Ore. That's I wonder if that's what you're talking, or I know what you're talking about. Yeah, man, I would love to be able to do He-Man like that, but I can't. Like, not that I can't afford it. I don't want to divert the funds. Like, every time I think about want to buy a dope He-Man, and I'd be like, I'm always looking at He-Man action figures on eBay, and I'm like, man, but I could be buying this X-Men book I need.
Yep.
I could be grabbing this X-Men book I need. But if they put out a new line of He-Man toys, and I can start from the beginning, not the one they put out in 2018 that just looks so generic, they put out like a high end, and they do. But the last one they just put out,
Black Series for Star Wars.
Yeah, they just put out a 5-pack about a month ago, but they want, like, are you stupid? Everybody in the He-Man forums, because I'd be in the forums, it's like, man, they just put out this 5-pack of every He-Man. It's a re-release of every version of He-Man, like the Space He-Man, like every version. Man, the money they were asking for that joint, stop it. Nobody was like, yo, we passed, peace. Like, really? I tell you what I do want, though, and I still want, you guys are going to laugh at me, is I do want those Barbie X-Men joints they dropped in 2019. Storm, Phoenix, and Mystique.
Storm Phoenix, yeah.
I do want those. I will put those in my collection because it's Barbie and it's X-Men, and people are going to sleep on them and forget about them, and it's Barbie and it's X-Men. You know what I mean? And I think they put out 2 different series of the same toys. I just want the
They're not that
original 3.
expensive. Just go grab them.
Yeah, they're not. And
The
I
most
think,
expensive is Storm, and she's like $100.
yeah, so it went up. The last time I checked it, she was 60.
Yeah, they're about. I mean, Mystique's 73. Like, yeah, I mean, you can. Yeah, I remember seeing these, but I forgot about these.
Yeah, and it's Barbie and it's
Mhm.
X-Men. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just want that original run, not the re-releases, just the original run. Just put them away forever, and maybe one day my daughter can benefit off having them. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
her kids, because I was on it from the jump. I'm like, yo, I want those. It's Barbie. You know what I mean? And I'm not even kidding. Like, again, I'm all about iconic American pop culture pieces. I don't care what it is. I don't care if Barbie made it. Barbie made a Storm doll. Okay. Barbie made a Jean Grey. Barbie made a Mystique. Okay. I'm all about it. Definitely all about it. So yeah, man, that we got into that 80s pop culture, G.I. Joe. So IDW's losing all those properties, speaking of which. Transformers, G.I. Joe. Where do you think G.I. Joe's going to go?
I think it's going back to Marvel. It makes the most sense if they ever truly intend to relaunch G.I. Joe.
I would love a Ray figure. I love Ray. I love Daisy Ridley though. What were you saying, Ian?
I was saying if they truly want to relaunch G.I. Joe, it makes the most sense to go to Marvel.
Sam says Image was the biggest candidate. I agree with you. Although I could see G.I. Joe being a DC property.
Do you really want to be part of that sinking ship, though?
I don't think DC is a sinking ship.
Tell me the last DC book that you were truly excited to buy.
DC book?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never, even growing up as a kid, I've never been excited about buying a DC book. But they have 3 of the biggest IPs in all of comics, period. Superman is bigger than anything Marvel has. It's just a bigger IP than any you name a Marvel IP, and Superman is bigger. Spider-Man might be right close, but Superman is bigger.
no, I love Spidey, but Superman's bigger.
Batman, bigger than anything Marvel has, IP wise.
But, I mean, when it comes to the comics, from an IP standpoint, yeah, but, I mean, tell me the last time there was a truly good DC movie. Tell me the last time there was a truly good...
Jason made a good point, because Trobes and I went on eBay and bought this book.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked you to get us copies. And we got copies for Mike. Like, so, yeah, I mean, there's one. And that was just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
That was just a couple months ago.
But, yeah, all right. I might agree with that to a certain extent.
I mean, we wanted that book.
But Marvel, on a weekly basis, puts out fire. Boom, pretty much on a weekly basis, puts out fire. Image, on a weekly basis, puts out fire. You know,
but and I agree with you 100%. We're up until you say DC is a sinking ship. I don't think DC is a sinking ship.
It's not a... The quality hasn't been there. So I'll admit I pull a couple DC series. I pulled Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled Nice House on the Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And, this Poison Ivy book that's out. But outside of that...
I heard that book is really good.
What's that?
Poison Ivy.
Yeah, it's great. But outside of that, there's nothing that I'm like, oh, new book's out, I got to read this right away.
Yeah, but we're only talking about 2022, right? We're not talking about 2021.
No, we're talking about 2022. So would it make sense? I'm sorry, I'm making you guys drunk here. Would it make sense for G.I. Joe to go to DC?
So, so, so one, I agree with Sean about the art in DC books. Two, when you say makes sense, what are we talking about here? Integrating it into the DC universe, or DC just doing a GI Joe book so fans of GI Joe can continue to read GI Joe? Because if we're talking about the latter, it doesn't matter where, how, it doesn't matter where. That being the case, as long as they put a good creative team on it, and people who are interested in buying a GI Joe book continue to buy the book.
So I'm going to give you two prime examples. Marvel, they put out an Alien book. People bought that Alien book. Like, let's face it, lots of people bought that Alien book. They put out a Predator book. Lots of people bought that Predator book.
Yeah, but they suck.
They suck, but lots of people bought them. IDW puts out a G.I. Joe book. Is anyone picking up that book?
From where? IDW? GI Joe?
Yeah.
I'm sure I don't buy it.
But I assure you, you got copies of Alien. I assure you, you got copies.
I mean, I have copies of GI Joe, the keys. If there's a key book dropping from GI Joe, I get it. First appearance, I get it. We just pre-sold GI Joe.
It's on FOC next week.
What, number 300?
300. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna buy every issue of Alien because I read the book. It sucks. I'm not buying every issue of Predator because it sucks. But that doesn't mean it really sucks. It sucks to me. There are people who are fans of Predator. There are people who are fans of Alien. Some things are really niche, like Star Wars, for instance. Right? You got people who don't read comics but only buy Star Wars comics. I purchased a collection from a person through a third party. That person only bought Star Wars. He didn't buy any other comics. He only bought Star Wars because there's niche collectors, people who collect certain things, and that's what Aliens and Predator, things like G.I. Joe, even Transformers, they appeal to those people who collect in the niche. The average person buying an average Marvel comic probably isn't buying every issue of Transformers. They're probably not buying every issue of Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, Aliens, Predators, Star Wars. These are like niche, not all the time, not in all cases, because there are plenty of people who collect Marvel and DC comics that buy Star Wars books. I buy High Republic. I buy Obi-Wan. I don't buy every Star Wars book that's out, but I buy Han and Luke. I buy Obi-Wan. I bought Halcyon Legacy.
Mando.
I buy High Republic. I buy Mando. Well, I don't buy it, but obviously I get Mando. These are books I have on my pull list that I pull. I pull Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because I think it should be on everyone's pull list. Really? I don't necessarily pull Transformers, but then again, Trobes pulled Last Spot Standing.
Mm-hmm.
Every issue.
I have the full run of Last Spot Standing as well.
So I'm trying to find it here, and I'm not having much success, but I'm finding sales for like around June-ish or so. And because July was when Batman 125 dropped. But for June, the top 10, 6 of them were Marvel and 4 of them were DC.
We get the keys, Peter. We get the keys
for the top 10 in sales. And that was from through June, and then July Batman was the highest selling book in July. But yeah, on the list is Batman. There's Poison Ivy, like we said, and Justice League. The Road to Dark Crisis was on that list. So it's almost 50-50. It's 60-40. So.
But yeah, people are buying DC books.
There are people like me that just buy DC because you're putting together a full run of Batman. Is the story
Disagree. Samuel Murdoch says DC is quality stuff, not on everyone's radar. If you're a DC guy, then that's your jam. Sean Mallory says, I'll put any DC's book art against the sloppy line work Marvel has on most of their books. I mean, these are people who read DC. Sean Mallory, I'm way more into DC Comics this past year than anything Marvel was putting out. I mean, they're just 2 examples. I'm not saying they represent the entirety, but I think that there are certainly people who you still have I'm on Team DC versus I'm on Team Marvel.
I mean, if anything, if we're going to talk about books and like a company you should buy is Boom. Boom, I think, puts out the best books.
I disagree.
Are you talking about story or quality? What are you talking about?
Yeah, what do you mean by the best books?
Just story and quality.
Yeah, I don't agree. I like Boom. I don't think they put out the best books. I don't even think they put out enough titles to
I was
be
just
in
gonna
that
say that.
conversation.
I'm trying to, yeah, in my head, I'm trying to think like, okay, well, what are the, you know what I mean, the best ones from, you know what I mean? That's what I was trying to think in my head, compared to Marvel or DC or Image
Or
or
even
whatever.
Image.
Yeah.
I would say if you're talking overall, I think Image puts out better books than Boom because Image just puts out more titles per
They put out
month.
more titles, yeah.
They put out more titles, but I'm not hating on Boom because when Boom drops a good book, they drop a really good book,
Mm-hmm.
like a really good book. I think if I'm going to say who puts out the best books, and that's obviously it's opinionated, is Marvel. But I'm opinionated on that though, right? Because I collect
Because you're an
more
expert.
Marvel titles than anything else, right? I collect all of the X titles.
And see, like 2020, 2021. I will
Well,
say
welcome to the room, Ken Assman. Welcome to the room. Appreciate having you here. Shout out to you.
I will say that like in 2021, I was
I'm gonna get more
pulling
coffee. I'll be right back.
I was pulling more DC than I was Marvel.
Yeah, because
Like,
you had somebody telling you should be buying it, but DC was fire in 2021.
It was, and then it's just like the new year rolled around, and it just
I keep saying if people weren't buying DC books in 2021, they're going to go back and regret and be looking for the books in 2021 because there's the best Joker story, arguably one of the best Joker stories ever told. Not the best, but one of the best was in 2021.
I
That
got the
10-year
full
run
run.
of Batman, all of that new Trinity stuff was really good. Swamp Thing by Ram V was so good, like so good.
That Batman Catwoman story. I bought that whole run, and to me that was awesome. Except for the last book when they kind of they brought Superman in, and it just kind of lost its luster to me.
I used to like X-Men, but stopped due to all the reboots. Yeah, I'm a big X-Men guy, and I have to agree with you. I didn't stop. There were some eras of X-Men, horrible eras of X-Men where I still collect it because I collect X-Men, but man, very hard to read. Very, very hard to read. Peter Samuel Murdoch is challenging you. He says, Ian, you're talking about spec and not quality. How do you feel about that?
I'm when I make my statement about G.I. Joe would be best suited with Marvel, I say that only because how large of a property Marvel actually is. You know, and Trobes said it. He's like, in July, 6 of the top selling books were Marvel.
Just a second. I just want to pause to tell everyone to like and follow comiXsense on Facebook and join our comiXsense Facebook group. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Find us on Instagram and on the Twitter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, Boom just as a company, they pique my interest the most. Like their books.
How though? How so? And
so let me just name the titles.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they're sitting in boxes behind me. You know, you have Alice Ever After, which is a good book. You have Basilisk, which is a good book. You have Berserker, which, I mean, Keanu Reeves, is it really a good book? No, not really. But I buy it every single month.
So what we doing? Did you say Berserker, bro?
You got Once and Future. You got Grimm. You got Something's Killing the Children. House of Slaughter. Yeah, but I mean,
okay. Let me break Boom down for you because I'm a fan of Boom. I think you should be buying Boom #1s. You named a slew of books. I would say the greater percentage of the books that you named, my opinion, are good. So let's take Boom's biggest book, right? Since 2018, Something is Killing the Children, right?
First 5 issues.
First of all, I'm a fan of Something is Killing the Children. I have the entire run. You already know I have every variant, everything in print. Am I going to sit here and tell you that as a reader, I'm putting an issue of Something is Killing the Children down like, wow, no. It's a 5-minute read. It's not even reflective of James Tynion's best work. You can't compare Nice House on the Lake or his run on Batman, the writing on those books, to the writing on Something Is Killing the Children. You just can't. The former Nice House on the Lake, his Batman run, much more depth, right? Not to knock Erica Slaughter, who's a dope character. House of Slaughter, same thing. 5-minute reads. Grimm, one of my favorite books. I can read it in 5 minutes. I enjoy the story, but am I saying that Grimm is a better book than when Stephanie Phillips was writing Nuclear Family, or even when she was writing Harley Quinn? No. I can read the book in 5 minutes. The densest issue of Grimm was number 5. You take Once and Future. Okay. I think it's the second best book in print, period, behind Monstrous from Image Comics. But absolutely, best coloring. Kieran Gillen is really killing that book. Great art. Great story. Unfortunately, the last issue drops next week of the run, but great story. What else did you mention? Berserker, meh. Basilisk, Cullen Bunn is really writing a good book. Like, really, but Cullen Bunn always writes a good book.
I said Alice Ever After.
Alice Ever After is a good book. Is a really good book.
And then we just got Briar.
And Briar is a really good book. Briar's a really good book. And I mean, Boom has other books. They drop all the Power Rangers books. They drop the Buffy books. Yeah, I guess Boom does have a good catalog of books. Approach is about to come out. They do have a good catalog of books, but it's interesting, right? I think, and far be it for me to say it because I love the Tinian Boom properties, but they're overrated. I love the properties, but from a production standpoint, they're certainly overrated.
And we forgot Wind.
Wind is a good. We only find them when they're dead. Is one of my favorite books from Boom, but L. Ewing is just a brilliant writer. Not a fan of Gillen after what he did on Iron Man. You should read Immortal X-Men. He's really good. Really good, Peter, on Immortal X-Men. So Ken Asman says that new Ghoul book from Dark Horse was good. Did you read it, Ian? Night of the Ghoul?
Not yet. It's right here behind me in my stack of books to read.
Yeah, that's Scott Snyder, though, right? Mm-hmm. Like, Scott Snyder is, I mean, he keeps writing fire.
By the way, I got you a gift today.
Me?
Yeah.
What'd you get me? You might as well show it to all the people.
Yeah, I got you a Noctera Blacktop Bill special. It's a variant cover that you probably don't have. It's like 1 in 500.
1 in 500? Was there a 500 or was it an exclusive?
It was an exclusive.
Oh, that's dope.
Like I said, you probably don't have it, so I bought it for you.
That's really dope. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't have it. I don't have that. And you already know how I feel about Noctera. This is the reason why I have a problem when you say, and again, it's not really a problem because it's your opinion, and I respect your opinion and you're entitled to it. But Image has really put out some great books too. Like some really great books.
So yeah, and I mean, you know, of course, you have your Radiant Blacks, which you have that whole universe that, you know, unfortunately they drew me in, and I bought all those.
Appreciate you stopping through, Peter. I mean, Sean, I'm looking at Peter's comment.
Like Department of Truth,
Gillen, and appreciate you stopping through, Sean. Thank you, man.
Department of Truth. I mean, the illustration kind of, you know, there's good story to it. The illustration drives me insane. You know,
Department of Truth.
Yeah,
I don't collect that book.
I'll admit there's good books. Like I bought the whole run of Sweet Paprika and read that whole thing.
Oh, man. Ian, you do this to me every time. You do this to me every time. I admit there's good books, and then you drop Sweet Paprika in my lap, dude. Of all the Image books that you can drop, dude, you drop Sweet Paprika. Like, I'm saying
I read that whole series.
Every time, bro. You do this every time. Trobes. Like, we knew it was coming, right? Image has a good book. I mean, I have the whole run of Sweet Paprika. It's like saying...
I've never heard somebody say that before.
Me either. I don't think I'll ever hear it again. I don't think I'll ever hear somebody say they have the entire run of Sweet Paprika.
Because nobody does.
Ever again. Because only Ian has the entire run of Sweet Paprika.
No, my wife has the entire run, too.
Junkyard Joe was really good. Everything from the Geigerverse has been good so far. Everything out of the Geigerverse. That anthology book they dropped some months back. Obviously, Geiger's 1 through 6. Junkyard Joe was really good. Surprising, right? We got a new character, Muddy Davis. Very interesting take on this Junkyard Joe mythos. Can't wait to see where number 2 goes. So that's really cool.
You guys go bronies. I go paprika.
Your wife laughed at you, didn't she?
What, did I collect this book?
As she was putting together her Punisher Warzone run. She's looking at you putting together Sweet Paprika. He said,
he has a sweet run of sweet paprika.
He was like, Image puts out good books. I got a whole run of Sweet Paprika. Dude, it's going to be a soundbite. I'm going to make a reel out of this section.
Comic shops don't have that many sweet paprikas.
Yo, I'm literally, you had to go to like 10 comic shops just to put together that run, didn't you?
I had to pull list that thing.
You put Sweet Paprika on your pull list, dude?
Of course I did.
Why? What possessed you? What was it about Sweet Paprika? Give us the breakdown. Like, what was it about Sweet Paprika that made you?
I don't know. Unnatural Blue Bloods is on my pull list right now.
I love Mirka Andolfo. She's my favorite. I love Mirka.
That's why.
She's my favorite cover artist. But dude, yo, Sam says it perfectly. Said no one ever. Said no one ever.
She can draw and write anything, and I will buy it. I'm a joke.
What's that? What's that one? Do you have the whole run of? Was it Ma?
Ma. You got Unsacred. You have Unsacred.
I have Unsacred.
Do you have Mercy?
I don't have Mercy.
I quit, dude. I'm about to. You don't have Mercy, but you have Unsacred and Sweet Paprika. You don't have Mercy.
Buy the whole run of Mercy for my wife.
Mercy is so dope.
Well, I haven't gotten around to buying it yet.
Like Mercy,
but you got around to buying and putting on your pull list Sweet Paprika.
Sweet Paprika. You made sure that was on your pull list.
He can't buy Star Wars books, but he can have a full run of Sweet Paprika.
Sweet Paprika. Did you get
someday when that property hits, you guys are gonna be sorry.
It's gonna be on the Playboy channel. Like they're gonna bring a streaming Playboy network back, and Sweet Paprika is gonna be on it. What do y'all think about the Scooby-Doo adult cartoon coming to HBO Max?
Well, Vilma's a lesbian.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
Hasn't she always been?
But officially now she is.
I thought she always was. I think that I'm interested. If it's like just adult humor, and I'm not talking about belligerent, over the top humor. I'm talking your Rick and Morty or your, Peter Griffin style. I'm gonna check it out. I'm definitely gonna check it out. Just curious because I know it's coming, and I feel like I'm happy to see some of these '80s popular cartoons get a adult spin on them. You know what I mean? Like I'm curious. Like, well, they put out a DC comic, The Flintstones, a couple years back, which was really good. A little more political than I'd like it to have been, but it was really, really good, and it was definitely a serious spin on the Flintstones.
So if they can do Scooby-Doo anything like they did the Harley animated series, I'm all for it.
With some paprika on it.
That is a good spice.
Listen, someday that investment is.
I use it in my mac and cheese.
Someday that investment is going to pan out.
I thought he was going to say monstrous. He said sweet paprika. That one still got me. That's okay, Ian. There's nothing. Just
come from the same guy who said Marshall Falk's not a featured back.
Everybody has their thing, and that's cool. I like Mirka Andolfo. Some people collect everything, their favorite creators. They collect everything that their favorite creators put out, and that's cool. I was just kind of messing with you about Sweet Paprika. It was just a surprise when you followed up Image puts out good books with Sweet Paprika. It was it's like saying Marvel used to put out good books like Strike Force Morituri, which nobody read. You know what I mean? Like nobody was reading.
They put out that awesome Swordmaster story.
It wasn't a great story.
No, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was really bad. But
I'm still big on that Swordmaster spec.
Me too. Love it. But it was a really, really bad story. I remember reading Strike Force Mortuary when I was a kid, and every time I read it, I'm like, why do I keep reading this crap? But I would get it because the tagline in "We Who Are About to Die" salute you. It was just so dope. You know what I mean? I'm like, that Gladiator tagline just made you think this book was going to be great, and then you picked it up, and you're like, bruh, what am I doing here? Or like when Fletch had a Marvel comic, or NFL Super Pro. You know what I mean?
Yo, it's a good thing Sam Ferrato's not on here.
And yeah, we actually kicked it about Werewolf by Night at the beginning of the show. We talked about Werewolf by Night. Really, really, really great show. We all kind of agreed that there were some really good things about it. Ian wants to see a sequel. I think it just leads into Blade in that Midnight Suns corner of the MCU, which, hey,
Elsa was awesome.
Elsa was great. Man-Thing was great.
Everyone was good at.
Yeah.
Say again?
Everybody was good in it. The stepmom, or whatever you want to call her, she was great.
I thought she was a little over the top, but she was.
No, I thought
she did her thing.
I loved it.
I think that the one thing I didn't like about it was the whole like Ulysses Bloodstone like doing the whole thing in the coffin.
Oh, you mean like the puppet thing?
Yeah,
that was acting on behalf of Ulysses Bloodstone. I mean, some powerful magic going on there, right?
It was the only thing I didn't like about it.
I mean, it was hokey, but it worked. What I didn't like is we didn't get an introduction to some of the other monster slayers. Like, who were they?
I mean, was it really that important when you just?
Well, they're dead now.
Yeah.
Right, but I would have liked to have known what characters they were in the MCU, like in Marvel, that they were using. Like, who were they using? I definitely would have liked to have known that. Was that Baron Blood's head on the wall? The vampire? Was that a Baron Blood?
So what I think is funny is all those people jumped on that Marvel Presents Bloodstone book just for that Ulysses first appearance. And it just, I mean, that was that was reaching for some spec.
Yeah, because the reality is he's dead in comics. So it's not really worthwhile spec, right? Like, he's not going to be used again in comics. Like, I'm never going to jump off the porch to spec on a character that's going to show up in the MCU that's dead. Because the reality is that character is probably not going to be living long, right?
So, and Ish and I had this conversation before. Is in that one shot, she says Ulysses' daughters. So it's not just Elsa.
Yeah, but I don't think it's Lyra either. I think they're just going to turn Cullen Bloodstone into a woman. The Cullen Bloodstone character into a woman. That's my thoughts. Because I don't understand for the life of me why they would introduce Lyra before they introduce Cullen, who at this point is just a more important character.
Well, early on in it, I thought that potentially Jack Russell was actually Cullen Bloodstone.
Mm-hmm. Cullen is just a more important character right now than Lyra is. Lyra's done nothing in Marvel Comics. Like, nothing. You know what I mean? Cullen's done quite a bit. So my thought process is if they're saying she has a sister, or there's even going to be a sister showing up, I think it'll be Cullen, but as Colleen. You understand what I'm saying? I think it'll be because Lyra is a whole other entity, right? Like, she's older than both of them, but younger than both of them. Completely total. Like, that would be crazy if it would be Lyra. I don't see any, and again, it's because in the mythos, in the comics, in the canon, Lyra has only made one appearance.
But when has Marvel ever followed the mythos?
Yeah, but then they'd be creating her canon on TV.
But they've done it with other characters.
Such as?
I mean, we got a whole character in Iron Man 3 that they created as
Who?
the kid. What the heck's his name?
Yeah, but he has no canon. Like they put him in Spider-Man comics. You know about the Hobie kid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is they would be creating her canon for TV. Then why did they put her in the book first?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like there's been more characters where they introduce you a character that you've only seen once or twice, and then they have a story about it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't see Lyra Bloodstone.
Well, and I'm fine with that. I mean,
That's me though. I mean, I think the spec is good on Lyra Bloodstone no matter what.
But it's just saying there's more to come. Like there's
Right.
potential for more to come.
Give me
Like-
1 second. We're gonna get ready to wrap up in just a second, but give me 1 second. I'm gonna let you guys have the floor. Gotta check on the niece. Just a second.
He has other duties tonight.
So, Trobes, what
Yeah.
books are you excited for this week?
For this week,
Yes.
I'm excited. I want to see what they're going to do with the Namor because that's coming out. What else? We already talked about the indie stuff. Hitomi. That looks fun. You know, Wakanda. I kind of read the synopsis of Wakanda, so we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Well,
with
you'll have those books tomorrow, so I mean, you can.
Is tomorrow Saturday? Yeah. Well, I won't have.
So
Hitomi won't be until Tuesday, but yeah, the Marvel stuff will get tomorrow.
you can pop that box open and read that as you're watching T-Bone play football.
Yeah, very true. We're actually getting a lot of those Halloween trick or treat ones. We're getting what Moon Girl. There's a Moon Girl one coming in. There's an Amazing Spider-Man one coming in. I'm trying to think of the other one we're getting. There's Moon Girl. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. There's two Spider-Man. There's a Spidey, and there's an ASM, and there's two Star Wars as well. So those trick or treat books are coming in.
I mean, anytime you get a reprint of a book, it's never a bad thing to pick up, as we all know.
No, and like we were talking about before, we got those two new Star Wars, two whole new Star Wars books coming in. So there's a lot of stuff coming in for this week. I mean, there's always a lot of stuff coming in, but there just seems to be more things that I'm kind of jonesing for, to be honest.
And I mean, honestly, with last week, I was completely wrong with what I thought the week was going to be. And of course, I'd say it's a toss-up between Dark Ride and Kaya.
Oh, what did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be Night of the Ghouls.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you didn't read Ghouls yet, so you don't know. After you read it, you may like it.
What do you mean
better.
as far as the best books?
Well, I'm just simply saying that, like, I was completely under the assumption that, other books are going to be better. I thought maybe the other Spider-Verse book was going to be good. It really didn't hit it out of the park for me. But, I mean, that Spider-Man book was really, really good. But between Dark Ride and Kaya, those were the two books of the week.
Captain America was a good read, really good.
See, I mean, you gave me your reader copy. I read through it. It was okay.
I'm really a fan of Redacted. I like that character. I like that they took him and turned him into a good guy. So I'm a fan of that. Spider-Man was really good, a really good read to me. Obviously, Kaya was my favorite book this week. Kaya was really good, man. Like really, really good.
Kaya was a book kind of like She Bites. So She Bites, we all agreed that was a phenomenal book.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I wasn't expecting for Kaya to be a great book.
You
I'm going to be honest. And I pulled it out, started reading it, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. So yeah, loved Kaya. Next week, add that Black Panther #10, that first Buffalo Soldier, first cover and full appearance of Buffalo Soldier. That's a good question I want to talk about really quick before we get ready to get up out of here, because we're gonna go watch some SmackDown.
Jason Robinson, my thoughts on that are yes.
Yes, 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 and yes, and yeah. And they've been talking about him playing Spawn for years now.
Mhm.
So that casting, we kind of knew it was coming. We're hoping it was coming. We're hoping that movie got out of obscurity or off of somebody's shelf and actually got into some sort of pre-production. So now that we know it's greenlit, yes, Jamie Foxx as L. Simmons, I'm all for it. I'm definitely all for it. It would have to be, to me, somebody not a young, and Jamie Foxx isn't so young anymore. So, and I think L. Simmons needs to be an older, not older, but more middle-aged actor, and Idris Elba or Jamie Foxx. And I think Jamie Foxx looks more like L. Simmons than even Idris Elba would. So I'm really cool with that.
Did you see like the people that were like absolutely no Idris Elba is Spawn? Like there was a whole group that's like
They were like, what?
they're adamantly against it.
Yeah, because he doesn't look like L. Simmons. Jamie Foxx looks closer to L. Simmons than Idris Elba does.
Well, Samuel L. Jackson doesn't look like Nick Fury.
He looks like Nick Fury in Marvel. The Marvel Nick Fury, the current Marvel Nick Fury, he does.
Yeah, but I don't know. I would have been fine with it. I don't see where the outrage would have been had they put him in that role.
I mean, I think people just generally like castings that favor the actual character. I think that's kind of the flow. That doesn't mean it always has to be that way, because there certainly are plenty that don't. But I mean, listen, I wanted to punch Anna Paquin in her face every time she opened up her mouth as Rogue.
That's because you love Rogue, though.
So, I mean, honestly, I think Zendaya being cast as MJ Watson was, perfect.
I like Zendaya as MJ.
I just wish they gave her red hair.
I just made that statement just to see.
I just wish they gave her red hair.
I like. There's a couple castings I don't like, to be honest with you. There's some castings that I'm like, nah, I could pass on. But for the most part, I mean, am I biased? I like Gabrielle Godot, so I didn't really, if I'm being honest with myself, I don't think she looks like Wonder Woman. But I love Gabrielle Godot. So there's that. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, we've been on for almost 2 hours. It's 11:03, so we can get ready to get up out of here. I want to tell everyone thank you for showing up, for commenting. As always, we always enjoy your comments. We're going to address your comments, get them up there on the screen, kick it. You guys can absolutely influence the direction of our shop talk, because that's what we do here on Friday nights. We just top shop. We just shop talk. If you are new, follow Ian's Fingers, like and follow comiXsense on Facebook, and join our comiXsense Facebook group. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Find us on Instagram. Follow us on the Twitter. Listen, if you find us on YouTube, please, 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 please click the notification bell. Like a video, thumbs up a video, thumbs down a video. Watch it for a couple seconds. Just don't do nothing when you find us on YouTube. But everybody who kicks it with us, whose comments we put up on the screen, because we definitely want you to be able to influence the direction or the topics of conversation. Everybody should take the time to stop over on YouTube and click like and subscribe on the video. Help us put comiXsense in the algorithm. Just takes a couple seconds. Go right to YouTube, just click like, subscribe, and keep it moving.
And if there's something you guys want us to talk about, drop a comment.
Yeah.
Give us some direction.
Yeah. We're always going to address your comments. We're always going to kick it with you. We're always going to allow you to participate and or influence the direction of the show and the conversation. So at the very least, slide on over to YouTube, click like on the video, click subscribe or hit the notification bell, whatever it is that you choose to do. At the very least, thumbs up the video so we can get up in this algorithm. I'm going to let Trobes and then Ian Michaels have a word, and then I'm going to say the last word, and we're going to get up out of here.
Have fun at the game, Jason, on Sunday. Make sure you send me a message. We'll meet up. It's always fun meeting people that you talk to on here. So we'll see you Sunday, Jason. Everybody else, we'll see you next week. Ish and Nina, I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Peter, say hello to our homie Sam Ferrato up at New York Comic Con.
Kevin Delgado's up there.
Yeah, Kevin's there. He was talking with McFarlane today.
Definitely appreciate you wearing that comiXsense t-shirt this weekend. Really appreciate your support, Peter. Can't tell you how much we appreciate your support. It's so awesome, man. Shout out to everyone that has been in the room tonight, everyone that contributed, everyone that commented. We really appreciate you. That is the comiXsense community, crowd, crew, or as I like to call it, the core family. Shout out to you all. We will be back, as you know, with our regularly scheduled programming this weekend, our hashtag all of the spec pregame shows and our focus, all of that will be dropping Sunday and Tuesday. This has been comiXsensory Perception, or CSP. I am Issue X. Y'all know what time it is.